Hello again and welcome to the show. As always, I'm Jason McNeil and this is Cup of Joe Canada. Now today on the show, we're going to discuss Canadian politics and more specifically the reporting of Canadian politics. I want to discuss that because I've been having a lot of conversations recently with friends, and a lot of people have been telling me they think that our politics is starting to become like American politics. It's becoming Americanized. Basically, they fear what they see down south, they see it starting to mirror up here, up north in our politics, and it makes them uncomfortable, and frankly, that makes me uncomfortable as well. But when I dig deeper, I sort of feel like it's more the way we consume the politics than the politics itself, right? The issues are not American necessarily, but the way we sort of get them distributed to us is kind of in an American sense. So to me, I feel like our media is more mirroring American media than our politics. Now, some of that is just natural, right? All media is somewhat beholden to clicks and likes and views. They need headlines, they need you to buy newspapers, they need these things. And so they've sort of had to compete with entertainment, right? So print media, print news has become in competition with tabloid news, and there is a sort of blurring of the lines, and that's everywhere. It's not just here and it's not just in America. But I fear that it's getting more up here. Now, first thing I'll say is I've noticed more Washington Post articles being printed, more New York Times articles being printed or picked up by Canadian print media. I've noticed more Canadian people reporting on American news or being in America on location, reporting on Washington news. Again, some of that is natural, and we do get American media, right? We get American TV, we get American news. So a lot of that is, we get it anyway. And I sense that we're getting more and more and more of it. Maybe you guys feel differently. I'd love to hear how you guys feel about that. But that's one way that I think we're becoming more American. We're becoming more exposed to what they're doing. We're hearing more things like starting to come up, like Canadian gun control arguments mirroring the American gun control arguments, right? It's not the same. We don't have the same laws as them or the same issues or the same divisiveness around guns as they do, but it's hot down there, so we're going to talk about it here, and it's going to be in our media. And it kind of conflates the two and allows for that line to be blurred between what's Canadian and what's American, what's going on there, what's going on here. Right? So this is another way I fear that we're doing that. The next way, and probably the most important, is I feel like we're getting into the whole like heroes and villains thing, right? We're the angels and demons, right? We either idolize people or we demonize people, and it's just like you take one individual, right? In America, they do this with celebrities, they do it with politicians, pretty much anyone famous, anyone who's gonna catch a lot of ears. That person is going to be a hero or a villain. And you should agree with them 100% of the time or 0% of the time, right? And that to me is an American way of reporting or an American way of digesting that situation. Now, in America, politically, you could look into the situation with, let's say, the president, right? You get to vote for the president, and everyone in America votes, or everyone gets to vote, and you vote for the president, and then the president is sent there, and that's the ultimate position of authority. Right? But what we've seen with Barack Obama more recently, and even with Donald Trump to some extent, is that the president's power to actually do stuff and dictate things is not as much as we think. Is not as much as the media makes it out to be, right? They have authority, they're a figurehead, but a lot of stuff has to go through Congress, it has to go through the Senate, it has to get a number of people on board, there has to be negotiations and all of that stuff. So even in the American system, where you vote on the president and the whole country gets a say, and you pick that person's power is kind of inflated by the media. Now flip back to Ontario, right? Canada, but Ontario specifically because that's where the most recent election was. And you have an election where we don't vote on the premier, right? If the premier isn't in your riding, or if the leader of the party isn't in your riding, their name isn't on your ballot. So on my ballot, I didn't see Doug Ford, I didn't see Andrea Horwath, I didn't see Kathleen Wynne. I voted for a candidate that represents a party, right? That's what I voted for. Then, when that party's seats are added up, whoever is the leader of that party is the premier of our province. But if you look at the way it's reported, it's very much a heroes and villains scenario, right? If you look at the way the right-wing reported, so let's say the Toronto Sun, right? Doug Ford trounces Liberals. Orange crushed, right? Nanner, nanner, nanner. Socialists, that group over there, that dehumanized group of socialists that we don't like, that's all one thing, monolithic, they got trounced by our hero, Doug Ford. This is nonsense, and a lot of people who voted for the PC party may or may not like Doug Ford, but they felt like we need a conservative shift. We need to pump the brakes on socialism, economically maybe, right? There's a million reasons why, but the laziest way to report why is Doug Ford. On the other side, they're equally as happy to paint Doug Ford individually as the villain. He's a mean, scary guy, and he represents that other monolithic group of mean, scary people that you should be worried about on the other side. This is an American way of reporting. I would point out, Doug Ford didn't say the socialists got trounced. Doug Ford didn't say orange crushed. The right-wing media did. And the left-wing media had been saying for 2 months leading up to the election that Doug Ford is running against Andrea Horvath and Kathleen Wynne, and the right-wing media is saying the same thing. This is not how we should be reporting. So again, to me, I get why people feel the politics might be shifting, but to be honest, I think it's really more the consumption. It's more the way the media reports on things and how they present it to us, that Doug Ford beat Kathleen Wynne and Andrea Horvath. Incidentally, Kathleen Wynne won her riding, right? So Kathleen Wynne didn't lose an election, but the Liberals lost a bunch of seats. The Liberals lost an election, that party. And I feel like the Canadian way to report is like that, right? And let's report that there's, groups of diverse people that are represented by a party and then eventually a person, not there's a person, that person's a dictator and they represent a mindless group. Anyway, that's how I feel about it. I'd love to know what you guys think. Is it the politics? Is it the media? Maybe it's just not a concern of yours. I'd love to know what you think. I'm Jason McNeil. You can hit me on the website at www.cupofjoecanada.com, or you can always get me on the Twitter. It's @cupofjoecanada.